A former Elks Lodge refuses to be repaired, where a man was murdered and his killing was never solved. The house undoes repairs, creates hazards, and an angry ghost refuses to believe he has passed. This place harbors an entity or entities of the angry dead that defies the passage of time and wants to be heard. In another part of town, a hospital that saw a huge outbreak of diseases 3 times in its history, which I believe spans over 150 years, has been shown to have activity of extreme danger and in some cases a dangerous apparition. At Coons Hospital, we encounter the opposite of a good elemental, one that is instead crafted from pain, from sorrow, and from anger. Okay, you guys can unmute yourself. We're going to start with the Elks Lodge on this one because that one is one that really was interesting, but the hospital is way more so.
Can I just point out the fact that let's talk about when Zach and Aaron was like I think it was Aaron when it was investigating the hospital after the interview, and he thought he saw somebody go down the hallway, and they ran out there, and the city workers was there.
Mm-hmm.
It was the 2 black guys, and then Zach asked, "Did you guys come in here?" He's like, "Nah, I wouldn't go in there." He was like, "Why not?" He was like, "There's no reason to." Bam! Why there can't be a black guy in a horror movie? Because that's my same answer. You can ask Joel. Everybody talks about that. Said Joel is like, why, Joel? Just come on in there. No, you know why? Haunted. Bam! Doesn't feel good in there. Not going. Go yourself.
I love that bit. Like, would you come in here? It's like, no, why not? I don't need to. Fuck off.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like there's no need to. And then he kept walking away from him. He would slowly walk away from him, like backing up. The other guy got in the truck. Yeah. He's like,
this crazy white guy's going to tell us to come in. This crazy white guy's going to try to get us to go in there. I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
Yeah. I was like, yes, vindication.
He'd ask me the same thing if he was over here. I'd be telling him to sod off. Well, he won't be sod off, but you know what I mean? He'd be like, ends with an F.
Yeah.
But despite me saying we're going to start with the Elks Lodge, you both run right to Coons. Because I wanted to save this one for the end.
I'm sorry. I had to go there because I just had to go there first because that was the best thing ever. That, like, I'm crying right now thinking about it. It was so freaking hilarious. My wife was even like, and bam. And I was like, exactly.
From the movie Evolution, there's a scene where I've forgotten what his name is talking to Ira. You know, he says, "Yeah, go over there and stand by it so I can take a picture." He says, "Oh, I've seen this movie. The black guy dies."
Yeah. Yes.
He says, I ain't doing it, right? I'm with him. He's like, "Oh yeah, go stand by it for scale." No.
Oh, you man, I'm not doing it.
But I also, what they did was also when you're also looking around an abandoned place, there's always the human aspect to it, as they found out. Yes,
we'll get to that one in a second. But when the boys actually saw the figure, there are 4 elementals that watch over me. I have named them. I've given them a name because they asked me to name them. Now, Chunk is what I named the earth element who protects my home. He stands in every doorway. Even you can see him if you actually look for him and have gifts in every doorway, and he watches after the entire family, most especially my youngest son. When this thing appeared, it looked like when Chunk appears in a doorway for me, but the opposite of him. Now he appears as light. He's a good being. He's protective. He's sweet. And if you look closely, he actually looks like a friend of mine who passed on because he took on that appearance in order to make sure that I never forgot a very dear friend of mine. And this thing looked like a completely black outline that looked the photo negative of Chunk. And when I saw him appear down the hallway, it was only for maybe a second and a half. And this is back to that, please stop moving the goddamn camera. Okay, they show it and then it disappears really fast. But they immediately they start moving as it starts to move away, so you can't see where it went to, and it struck me immediately as a negative version of Chunk, and my hair stood on end, like, wow, a negative elemental, a toxic elemental. I thought those were only in Shadowrun, Joel.
Yeah.
I swear to God, until that moment, I thought toxic elementals were just in role-playing games.
No, not so much.
Have you ever encountered a toxic elemental before?
Not necessarily, but I used to live in an area that had, if you was there long enough, it definitely affected you in a toxic way. So I figured that it's a possibility. I just never seen one myself, but I never cared to look.
Now, this evil apparition, they named it Michael. Apparently, it called itself Michael in an EVP session. It appears, it slams, throws things. They think it's a demon, but it's not. It's what I would call a spirit of suffering conglomerate, similar to the thing that chased after me from Wales.
Uh-huh.
But
did he also try to kill somebody as well?
I believe it hurt one of the guys who had actually been an investigator there. I don't know if it actually tried to kill him, but it definitely hurt him.
No, while they were there when a woman threatened her, he was talking about it.
Oh yeah, one of the female investigators that had been there beforehand, and they actually talk about how spirits that are like this were similar to one that they'd faced on Goatman's Bridge, which wasn't true. Goatman's Bridge was, this is our territory, get out. And the girl was sensitive to those warnings, and I think that was Billy Tolley's wife. She left the crew because she couldn't handle that crap anymore.
Yeah,
I don't blame her.
I can't blame her either. They wanted her to. Yeah, we need you to be over here because we're going to use you to help us with drawing this thing out. Like, don't do that.
Everyone's not going to be the guinea pig. You're going to be the guinea pig for today.
It's almost like they're trying to start building their investigations about 3 inches off the ground, starting in a midpoint that they really need to think about the rest of the. If they were in Brit, I don't want to sound classist, but the British investigators start from the ground up. They say you're going to be included if you're on this show, and British people are not going to be short with. They're not timid in saying, "Right, I'm off. Not going to be part
of this."
Yeah. I don't think it's that polite though.
I'm just trying to be as pro-British as possible and not say, throw in all of the negative swear words and Anglophilic negativity that can come out.
Oh, please.
Okay, do. I'm just like right. My mother's British, so that's the kind of thing she says in polite company. Don't make me be ruder. So, right, I'm off. I figured that John Cleese answer is good enough. I figured that John Cleese is good enough. No, if you want to throw in the swear words there, Sonia, that's good. Yeah. But that's the kind of thing. So, Sonia, would you like to put on this mask? And they did this to Sonia, right? This is why Sonia is not about I want to be the guinea pig person anymore. They put an iron mask on her and shoved her in where they kept the witches before they slaughtered these women in Lancaster, England. Now,
I don't forget, one of the old women actually died in the cell.
Right. So I don't know why she was all keen to be. Yeah, I'll be put in there. How old were you, honey?
10, 11.
Past the age of fuck yourself. Seriously, I
didn't volunteer. My sisters volunteered me for it.
That's why you say fuck you.
May I kiss you, Ken?
No, you fucking come.
Like I say, I wasn't as confident as I am now. Like, they want to go back, and they go, "Son, you come with us." No, come on. No, do you want me to shove my size 5.5 foot up your rear end?
There's just no reason for putting yourself out as a target for this kind of stuff if you are sensitive enough to feel it. And I'm telling you, at the age of 5, I knew I was sensitive enough that I avoided this stuff. By the age of 10, I was shying away from anything that I felt was dangerous because my family had shown me that was generally the safest way to go. Now, I have learned that that's not the best approach for everything. But if you are someone who doesn't have any training, but you feel these things, believe me, it is the best way to be.
Yep.
Okay, it is. And I'm not saying this because I want you to be a complete wimp or not learn or give into your fears. It is simply the best way to be, because if you keep on going in, you're going to expose yourself to things that maybe, perhaps, you don't want to be exposed to, that will leave lasting impressions on you, and you can get nightmares, breakouts, and I don't mean acne breakouts. I mean sudden jumps in your abilities that you may not be ready to deal with, etc. So staying away from the negative and the positive, because it gives you the willies, is a perfectly valid way to be. But this negative elemental was not the only thing in that hospital. Apparently, while the boys were doing investigations and they were getting EVPs, etc., they got a thermal camera image of somebody on the property, which Zach was saying could be dangerous in its own way. Well, yes and no. If it was somebody who was trying to protect their territory, like they lived there, as if anybody would be stupid enough to live there, I could see it. But no. What was the person doing? Anybody?
Pooping their bang poop.
Huffing fecal matter. It's a thing. People don't know this, but it is actually a thing.
Yeah, but it's them two that were picking up the bags and messing with it. They're going, it's fecal matter. It's like, why mess with it?
Now, okay, Joel, it's a thing. How is it a thing? They store their poop and then take it to someplace? This is a thing I have not heard.
Okay, so you defecate in a bag and you let it sit for a while, and then you huff the fumes and it gets you high. It's, hey, when you don't got money, you got to find, that's a shitty job, but somebody's got to do it, right? You find ways to get your fix. And this is a thing. You could look it up. It is definitely a thing. But why they came and just dumped them all out right there is beyond me. I just don't imagine.
Okay, now not having known this, not having ever heard of this before, I feel dirty. I'm going to be taking a shower soon. That's number one. Number two, if this is a thing for getting you high, you dirty bastards. Oh my God. So if this is a thing for getting high, then my guess is this person was storing up for a fucking party later. They were going to have friends come over. It's like, we're going to piss off the ghost while we're getting stoned off of each other's shit.
Yeah.
But it's also them two picking them up and looking at them. It's like, why are you picking them up? You just said it's fecal matter. Why?
Yeah, he's just kicking it and stuff. I'm like, will you stop? Will you fucking stop?
Stop. Like, you just stop stepping on the poop samples.
It's just wrong on so many levels.
What happened if one of the bags ripped, or like when he was pushing it, one it popped?
I'm telling you right now, it would have.
Okay,
it would have. Joel and I do not scare from ghosts, but if I had seen this and Joel said it was shit, I would have jumped into his arms like Scooby jumping on Shaggy. Okay, going, Raggy is really gross.
Yeah, totally.
It's really, really nasty.
Yeah, but why were they prodding it? It's like,
it's one of those
because
morbid fascination things. It's got to be.
It
was so nasty.
I hope so.
It is. That's exactly what it was. I can guarantee you. It's like when you walk into something that you can't fathom, and he just, he was just couldn't believe it. He had to poke at it just to make sure that he wasn't tripping, and that was exactly what he was saying. And unfortunately, it is. And I'm surprised that they hadn't heard about that or even had thought that might have been a thing. Because, my wife and I watch these together. We always watch them together. It's part of our weekend thing when I have time off on the weekend, is we sit down and we watch Ghost Adventures. And we talk about it. We pause it and we discuss it. And we always have good conversations about it, but she was like, well, it could be somebody is spreading rumors or people are doing things to keep people away. Because if you was homeless, you would want people to stay away from where you was staying.
Huffing your
I was
shit.
like, that's true. I was like, that's true. And then when we saw that, it was just like confirmation. Okay, so we definitely got people living here. We have homeless
Indigent
group
people
living
yes.
here, indigent people living there. That's obviously.
Well, at the very least, they're going there to get stoned in private because they don't. But there was no evidence that people were extended staying in any of the rooms there. And with the ghost being as violent as it was, I sincerely doubt that after the high is over, they'd stick around. And they did mention something about finding bodies there, dead people. So it wasn't uncommon that people were ending up dead. So now this throws into the mix somebody ziplocks their shit. Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. Goes there, gets stoned off their own brand.
Let's have a smell, all right? Ooh, wafting, wafting. Oh, everyone likes their own brand, don't they? This is magic.
Hey,
And this goes, I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay serious. And then this thing, then with a shit ring around their face and nose.
Yeah, just like paint
this
huffers.
entity throws them off of a roof. I'm sorry.
Just like paint huffers.
And so they find this ghost with a chocolate ring, and they go, "We got another one."
We got another one. Only hope.
We got another one. What? Oh my God!
You can only hope.
It must have been the ghost because the shit's not that dangerous. It's completely organic.
Who knows? Maybe they was keeping it because it was like gonna use it for a garden. I'm sorry.
My own personal garden, my own personal compost.
I just can't. I'm glad I could bring this. I'm glad I could bring this subject to light to all you guys. I mean,
thank you.
You're welcome.
I did not know that. It reminds me of really bad porn where you got guys who put those gas masks on and then they hit like the hose from their mouth and they shove it. So I mean, it's a thing. Now I want to point this out that the elemental that was in that hospital before we run on was disorienting them, so that every place that they walked, all the things that they heard, the stuff, it was throwing rocks, etc. It was banging on floors, etc. They ended up being disoriented and ending up outside at the site of the poop, which at the very least is toxic elemental. It does not appreciate someone leaving personal samples of themselves on his property.
Maybe it was an offering.
An offering of shit to a toxic elemental. That's like selling coals to Newcastle. That's not.
I'm just saying, if you get that at somebody's food supply.
So basically, I think he wants.
They'll be like, yes, it tastes shitty.
Oh, this coffee smells like shit.
It is shit, Austin.
Oh, good, then it's not just me. It's a bit nutty.
Yeah.
Harry was trying to set up a camera. He actually got really lost.
Yeah, they couldn't.
At one point.
The inside of that place was completely disorienting. That's one of the things that that elementals can do. It's called distance distortion.
What the hell was that hiss? It made my hair stand at the back of my neck.
Now that I don't know, because that was actually a hiss. That was a real hiss. That wasn't a sigh. That was a real hiss.
I was wondering, because when they showed the video, it looked like that could have been an animal that was climbing up on the wall into a vent.
But it wasn't.
The hand was too.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go on.
Go ahead.
Well, with me doing my animal care, the hand was too human-like because we had to do footprints and shape. There's no way physically, and except for if you're a lizard, would actually your hand to be flat against something. You'd have to be some sort of reptile to do that. And I don't think they have a reptile that big.
It looked completely human. It looked like it was, you know, whatever it was like a broken hand that was holding onto it. It looked completely it looked completely human. It didn't have any non-human characteristics to it, like claws or offset nails, or it moved like it had longer nails than a human would have that would cause it to not be able. None of that. It actually looked completely human, but it looked damaged. And that's the reason why I would imagine it looked like it was somewhat animalistic.
The digits, like I say, they look too humanoid. Obviously, I had to study for my animal care and the level 3, and you studied animal, obviously, because we did a few weeks in a veterinary place. The hands were definitely the digits weren't quite enough to actually grip onto a wall. If you know what I mean? They were too flat, like how a reptile, like a gecko or something, you know, like the ones that can stick to the wall.
Right, where they actually they bow their hands backward, their pads backwards to be able to cause the grip. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's why I said it. Yeah,
and I don't think America has a lizard that big. What does that?
No, I don't think there's any kind of lizard that would be that big that could climb on any surface, because
not that's indigenous. I mean, somebody might have had a Gila monster and just like let it hit the wall, but not any place like that. The temperament would just kill it.
And when it moved, the way that it moved, it didn't move reptilian. It moved like a person trying to get themselves out of the way, like it was pulling itself out of the shot. And that was probably one of the weirdest parts of it. But then comes the Elks Lodge itself. Now, the Elks Lodge was probably one of the worst things I had ever seen for a haunting, because it reminded me of something from Ravenloft. Now, for those of you who actually played Dungeons and Dragons, Ravenloft is a demiplane of dread where horror things usually occur. And one of the smaller modules, and one of the ones that actually had the most potential for horror, was a place called the House of Lament. Now, the House of Lament was based on at least 6 other horror films, including one that was done by Hammer Films. Hammer Films did the best and the worst. This one was one of their better ones. A house that was so haunted, people could not escape. It would literally destroy them. And that is essentially what you've got with this place. Now, the reason being is that the Elks Lodge was built on property that was part of was completely raised. That was once also a grave site. So the grave site during the battle was completely demolished, as well as any buildings in the surrounding area, and then rebuilt up. So what you have right now is a building that was probably completely quiescent for most of its time, that then was the area that a murder occurred, and then all of the activity that was happening in the place got dialed up to an 11. Yeah, for the blast to bits. And the place actually has sounds of children playing in the area, as well as doors opening and closing, but no doors open or close. And they even get it on camera. Okay, it's on the camera audio, not on like EVP or shit like that. No, it's actually on the camera's audio. This is one of those places that has such extreme activity that you can pick it up from the actual audio of their cameras, which is designed to actually keep most external sounds out, folks. Okay, so that you only pick up the people who are in front of the camera and who are in the audio's range. That's how impressive these are. You were going to say something, Sonia?
Yeah, like I said, there was a lot of like I say, a lot of pressure. And it was amazing to actually get the children playing on the actual camera audio.
That was pretty cool.
Arms, the hair on my arms, the hair on my arms stood up on when I heard it. It's like, that's actually, and they didn't actually have to use EVP. No,
it was incredible to me.
Yeah,
it was absolutely incredible to me. But there also the fact that the place could not be repaired. Every time they try to do upgrades or fix anything, things get undone. while Bill Chappell, who's the guy who's actually been the main inventor of most of their devices, was there with them. Things went up to absolute weirdness level 100, and the poor guy is there trying to work on a ghost vortex. That, like, it looked to me like what they're trying to do is go, "Hey, Egon, have you fixed that? Made that ghost trap yet?" Yes, Ray. It looks like it will create a vortex and be able to suck them in and be able to communicate with them. Is what it seems like they were trying for.
Yeah. That was the thing. And the one thing I had about that is, like, was that on the second floor or the first floor? I think it was on the second floor.
I don't remember. I think it was the first floor because they were doing it in the main area, which I think was the first floor. That was where the thing threw a 4x4.
Yeah, we'll get to the 4x4. I thought whatever floor there was on, I'm surprised they didn't go to the floor above and the floor below, because at the origin of any vortex, there's usually an opposite one and underneath.
Right.
So why wouldn't you not?
Didn't they go above while that was building, where they got the children laughing? So
yes.
They went to that little room right at the top.
They did. That was actually the third floor.
I guess what I mean is they didn't put a camera there. Like, they didn't put any cameras there. And that, I felt like that was odd, because I'm pretty sure it was like, so they were on the second floor. They didn't have a camera on the first floor, the third floor to capture anything above and underneath the vortex. Because there's a chance that if you're making it, that you're going to have
evidence appear outside.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't think about that is because they had, remember, this is a brand new piece of equipment. They don't know about vortexes like we know. And I want to point out that the instant they turned this thing on, I was in hell. It hurt my head so bad. The thing got turned on. As soon as he powered it up, it went on. For those of you who are old enough to remember the old sound effect on a flash on a camera when it would charge itself back up, where it goes, and then it would go into hypersonic. Okay, this thing did that to me, and I was in hell. I covered my eyes, and I had just had dinner. I was going to throw up my spaghetti right there. It continued to pound in my brain, and when the piece of wood got thrown, I could feel the energy building up in the room and building up, and it felt like somebody grabbed my stomach and said, "Here you go, out." And then the thing got thrown. Now, to give you an idea, this thing was against a wall, leaning at probably about a 15-degree angle against a wall to the right of to the left of Bill Chappell, to the right on the screen. Okay, it got thrown overbalanced, like it was going, "Hey, I want to hit Bill," but they didn't realize that they were pushing it in the direction they were pushing it, which was against its own friction, which is what was keeping it against the wall, and it went over too far instead of coming away from the wall. I could see that the arc that they were aiming for was something different, and they screwed up. Had it done what I think it was going to do, it would have knocked him out.
So let's talk about that. As soon as they show that clip, like Mel even said, she's like, that was the first thing you noticed. The board didn't just, like, when you look at it, it didn't just spin. It shifted. It like slid on a flat, like it slid. And then it spun and fell. And I was like, holy shit, babe, did you see that? It just slid over. And she was like, and so I rewound it so she could see it. She was like, "Oh my God, you're right." She was like, "I just thought it just leaned over." I was like, "No, it physically shifted over like a good foot, like 6 inches to a foot, and then it started to spin and fall." That was amazing. That was like, time to leave. We're not in Kansas anymore.
So, I must admit, every time they turned to him, I kept on looking at that plank of wood like, that's going to move, that's going to move. I got that, that feeling, and my head just was hurting after, I think it was like a couple of minutes of watching after it being turned on. My head felt like it was about to split open.
That vortex that they have, I think, was probably what was primarily juicing it up, because it's supposed to be some kind of a trap. And vortexes are usually not traps for ghosts. We know this from experience. Vortexes are usually the best buddies of ghosts that wanted to commit mayhem.